Let's bring in Michael Goodwin, a New York Post columnist and a Fox News contributor. We made a little mistake there. It's more compelling that the head of that committee is a Republican. What do you make of that?
Well, Melissa, I think that is why the president is surprised. I think a lot of people are surprised, myself included, that Richard Burr, the senator from North Carolina, head of that committee, along with Mark Warner from Virginia. Warner is the ranking Democrat. And they have made a sort of fetish out of announcing that they are in bipartisan lockstep all of the way. Nonetheless, it is a majority Republican committee.
Yeah.
So to have Don Jr. Subpoenaed, apparently he declined to come voluntarily. That's the one report I read.
Yeah.
So it's somewhat of a mystery why they would do this, what they're looking for. You would think that if it was something significant, Mueller himself would have made more of a big deal out of it.
Well, they tried to, the explanation we've heard so far is they want to go back over territory that Michael Cohen opened up, and that the original testimony, according to reports from Don Jr., didn't match. When Michael Cohen said, oh no, he was much more involved in the Trump Tower in Russia than he let on. And they had been in negotiations to talk about it again. And, the president's son was like, I've already said everything I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to get him in. I don't know. What does it tell you about the tone or how close we are to being done with all of this?
Well, we're not close, according to that.
Yeah.
But it very much smacks of the same attitude that's going on in the House, which is controlled by Democrats, which is that, Mueller is not the end of anything. Mueller is just the start of a whole new second round. And Mueller, instead of being the Holy Grail, has just given us, more roadmaps. I think that this is the attitude. And as I say, it is a surprise to see Richard Burr go down that line because,
yeah.
First of all, if it all hangs on Michael Cohen, here's a man who's going to federal prison, is in federal prison for lying to Congress, among other things.
Right. So
about this very issue.
Very true. So while we have you here, you have an op-ed in the New York Post that says, quote, we can only dream that de Blasio is coming to his senses on a 2020 run. The Post now reporting that the New York City mayor is planning a rally outside the Trump Tower in New York on Monday night or Monday sometime to promote his take on the Green New Deal. So what do you make of this? On one hand, he seems to have phoned in your writing, most of his time in Gracie Mansion.
Right.
But he's taking time away from not doing that job to go protest in front of Trump Tower and talk about a Green New Deal that he wants to implement long after he's out of office.
Right. For Bill de Blasio, Donald Trump is just a gift. He is running against the president because he's a lousy mayor in New York, so he's going to go and pull this stunt, the Green New Deal. He's trying to find a place for himself in the national Democratic conversation, looking for a lane. I don't believe he seriously thinks he's going to be president, but he does need a job. He's term limited in this job, and he has no future in politics that anyone can detect. And so he's going to try to, I think, go out there and make a fool of himself on the national stage. Meanwhile, back at home, Melissa, you think of all the things he's not doing. The school system is not getting better. Instead, he's playing all kinds of racial quota games trying to destroy the best schools with racial quotas. He simply is not attentive to the job at hand. Always the political angle. How does it sound? How does it look? But it's never about what he does. It's always about what he says, what he believes, how he respects deeply this and that. But his performance is abysmal.
Yeah, nothing to point to.